Hello, my name is Grandin Gill, and I am the Academic Director of the new Doctor of Business Administration program at the University of South Florida, whose first cohort is scheduled to launch in January of 2015. This is the second in a series of videos that I have created to describe the program. And in this video, what we're going to focus on is the program's objectives and sort of underlying philosophy. So, to start out, why don't I just read the description in the graduate catalog of the new program? The DBA program offered by the College of Business provides its graduates with the skills needed to conduct rigorous research with the objective of applying the findings to real-world decision-making in industry and government. Okay, now there are two words that you need to pay particular attention to within this particular description. The first of these words is research. The DBA, like its close cousin, the PhD, is principally focused on teaching research skills. We are not going to give you answers in this program as we might in an MBA program. Rather, we are going to teach you how to conduct a rigorous investigation to discover your own answers. It's a little bit like the dichotomy between teaching someone to fish and giving them fish. However, in our case, we're not only teaching you how to fish, we're teaching you how to build the fishing pole, the hooks, and the whole 9 yards. Now, the second thing that is very important about this program involves the word applying. In a normal PhD program, our principal focus is going to be on teaching our students how to write for publication in prestigious academic journals. While we'll be doing a lot of writing in the DBA program, writing is not the principal focus. We use writing as a means of helping people clarify their thoughts and make them more rigorous. But the real goal of this program is to teach you skills that you can actually apply on your job and in your organization, so that the research skills that we are trying to teach are going to be very practical in their focus, as opposed to being focused on looking for holes in the literature that you can write an article about. Now, a way of thinking about this program is in terms of a number of dimensions. And so if we take a look at typical educational programs, there are a couple of dimensions that are worth thinking about. The first is whether the student decides when the program is over, or whether the instructor decides when the program is over, or some third party, such as a bar association or an industry group. The other issue that's very important is whether the program that you're dealing with has content that's mainly standardized or that's highly customized. And if we take a look at programs according to these two dimensions, we can find a number of examples in each quadrant. For example, in the quadrant where things are instructor certified and are highly standardized, we'll call this quadrant the product quadrant. And a good example is K-12 school. You need to meet certain requirements in order to graduate. We've got a relatively standardized curriculum. Now, moving over to the left, we enter what I call the customer quadrant. And a good example here is continuing education. Here, the student decides when the program is done, and the curriculum is nevertheless mainly standardized. So for most continuing education type programs, you don't necessarily have a certification. For example, if you take a course in creative writing, you just keep taking courses until you feel you've learned enough or that it's not productive. And that's your decision, not the instructor's decision. Now, moving down, we move to the highly customized quadrant, which I call the client quadrant, where the student is still determining where things start and end. A good example might be when you take music lessons. But another good example of this quadrant is the type of professional relationships we often have with people like lawyers and doctors and accountants. We basically seek their advice, we pay them by the hour, and we decide what advice we want, and we decide when it's time to stop paying them. Now, as we move over to the right, we end up in what I call the Replica Quadrant, and this is fairly traditional PhD program territory. In this quadrant, what you tend to have is highly customized content, but the instructor decides when the process is over. And this is fairly typical of most master-apprentice relationships, including the relationships associated with the PhD program. Essentially, in a PhD program, we as faculty members are trying to create students who are relatively close replicas to us in their interests and in their research skills. Now, this isn't a very good description of a DBA program because in a DBA program, the students enrolled are not attempting to become professors. Rather, they are attempting to become something else. And I describe this as the partner quadrant, which exists somewhere in the middle of the four quadrants. Here, control is shared in equal measure by the faculty and the students. One of the things you'll notice in our program is we give the students control of a lot of things, including what dissertation topics they want, and we even let them become involved in the selection of courses within their third years. Because what we're trying to do in this quadrant is we're trying to create graduates who are comfortable doing research on their own, but who are also ready to partner with faculty when they find problems that require very specialized expertise. And as part of that partnership, we are also going to be seeking to bring DBAs who have graduated back into our program to act as advisors to students during the dissertation process and perhaps instructors in some of the issues courses that take place towards the end of the program. So we're looking for a relationship of individuals with complementary skill sets. And I think that is the way that our program is very, very different from PhD programs in the traditional sense, but also different from most educational programs that many of you will have encountered over the many years of education that were required to get you to where you are.